In the vast expanse of the Andromeda Galaxy, on the verdant planet of Zorathia, life thrived under the dual suns of Alara and Thorn. Zorathia was a jewel in the Intergalactic Federation, a coalition of over 200 sentient species bound by treaties of peace and mutual prosperity. The planet's surface was a tapestry of bioluminescent forests, crystalline oceans, and towering spires of natural quartz that hummed with latent energy. Its inhabitants, the Zorathians, were a graceful species with iridescent skin that shifted colors based on emotions, elongated limbs adapted for climbing the massive tree cities, and large, multifaceted eyes that could perceive ultraviolet spectra invisible to most beings. Among the bustling tree city of Lumina, nestled high in the canopy of the ancient sylvan groves, lived the family of Alara Voss. Alara was a renowned xenobiologist, her skin often shimmering with the soft blue of contentment as she studied the myriad life forms that visited Zorathia through the Federation's exchange programs. Her partner, Thorn Kale, was an engineer specializing in quantum drives for interstellar travel, his presence marked by the steady green hue of determination. Together, they raised their daughter, little Mira Voss, a curious 6-cycle-old Zorathian girl whose skin flickered with the rapid rainbow of youthful wonder. Mira was small even for her age, her limbs still gangly and uncoordinated, but her eyes held an intelligence that belied her youth. She spent her days scampering through the lower branches of Lumina, collecting glow spores and whispering secrets to the symbiotic vine creatures that wrapped around the trees. The city was alive with the chatter of Federation delegates, tentacled aquilins from the watery worlds of Nebula Prime, feathered avians soaring between branches, and even the occasional crystalline geminids who communicated through harmonic vibrations. It was a place of harmony, where differences were celebrated and the horrors of the ancient wars were but faded holograms in history archives. But beneath this veneer of peace lurked the shadow of the human enigma. Humans, or Terrans as they were derogatorily called in old texts, were a species from the distant Milky Way galaxy. Legend spoke of them as barbaric conquerors who had once breached the Federation's borders during the Void Wars 2 centuries ago. Their ships, crude yet devastating, had raised entire colonies before vanishing as mysteriously as they appeared. No human had been sighted since, and many believed them extinct, wiped out by their own aggressive nature or some cosmic catastrophe. To Zorathians, humans were monsters in bedtime stories, hairless bipeds with pale skin, driven by insatiable greed, incapable of the emotional chromatics that defined civilized beings. Alara often warned Mira about such tales. "The universe is vast, little one," she'd say, her skin glowing warm yellow as she tucked Mira into her pod bed. "But we must remember the lessons of the past. Humans are gone, but their stories teach us vigilance." Mira would nod, her eyes wide, but in her heart, she harbored doubts. During her solitary explorations, she had discovered something, or rather, someone, that challenged everything she knew. It began on a day when the dual suns aligned, casting a rare eclipse shadow over Lumina. Mira had slipped away from her lessons at the Grove Academy, drawn by the eerie twilight to the forbidden undergrowth, a tangled maze of roots and fungi at the base of the tree city, off-limits due to unstable soil and rumored predators. There, amid the glowing mushrooms, she stumbled upon a hidden cave, its entrance concealed by illusory vines that parted only at her touch. Inside, the air was cool and hummed with unfamiliar energy. Strange artifacts littered the floor, metallic tools that whirred to life with a touch, holographic projectors displaying star maps of unknown constellations, and a peculiar device that emitted soft, melodic sounds, music Mira later learned. But the most astonishing find was the inhabitant, a being unlike any in the Federation. He called himself Alex. Tall and bipedal, with skin the color of pale sand and a mane of dark hair atop his head, he wore tattered garments woven from synthetic fibers. His eyes were simple, two orbs of blue, without facets, but they held a warmth that made Myra's skin flush pink with fascination. Alex spoke in a guttural language at first, but his wrist device translated seamlessly into Zorathian tongue. "Don't be afraid," he had said, his voice calm. "I'm just lost." Myra, instead of fleeing, approached. "You're not from here," she observed, her skin shifting to curious orange. Alex chuckled, a sound that echoed strangely in the cave.
"No, kid.
"I'm from far away, a place called Earth." Earth. The word sent a shiver through Myra, but Alex didn't seem monstrous. He shared stories of his world, vast oceans, towering mountains, cities of glass and steel. He was an explorer, he explained, part of a human expedition that had miscalculated a wormhole jump, stranding him on Zorathia months ago. His ship was damaged, hidden deeper in the undergrowth, and he survived by foraging and repairing what he could. Over the following cycles, Myra visited Alex in secret. She brought him food, sweet nectar fruits, and protein pods, and in return, he taught her about human culture. He showed her how to play games with carved stones, sang songs about stars and love, and even demonstrated simple inventions like a water purifier made from scavenged parts. Myra's skin would dance with colors she'd never felt before, the deep purple of friendship, the bright red of excitement. But secrecy weighed on her. The Federation's laws were clear. Any contact with unregistered species was to be reported immediately. Humans, especially, were classified as Level 9 threats. If discovered, Alex would be captured, studied, perhaps even dissected in the name of science. Myra knew this from overheard conversations between her parents and Federation officials. Yet, she couldn't betray her friend. One evening, as Thorn tinkered with a quantum coil in their family pod, Alara received an urgent comm from the Federation Council. Her skin paled to gray alarm. "Thorn, there's been a sighting. A anomalous energy signature in the undergrowth. They think it might be remnants of a Void War artifact." Thorn's green hue deepened. "Or something worse. We've had reports of smuggling rings using the area. I'll assemble a team." Myra, eavesdropping from her alcove, felt her heart race. Her skin betrayed her, flashing erratic patterns. She had to warn Alex. The next day, under the pretense of gathering specimens for a school project, Myra descended to the undergrowth. The path was familiar now, her small feet navigating the roots with ease. But as she neared the cave, she heard voices, Zorathian patrols, their skins uniform silver of duty. Panic surged. Myra darted through the foliage, reaching the cave just as Alex emerged, his face etched with concern. "Myra, what's wrong?" "They're coming. Federation guards. You have to hide." Alex nodded, grabbing a satchel of tools. "My ship's almost fixed. One more part, and I can leave. But I need a crystal resonator from the city." Myra's eyes widened. "From Lumina? That's impossible." "Not with your help," Alex pleaded. "Please, Myra. You're my only friend here." Torn, Myra agreed. That night, she sneaked into Thorn's workshop, her skin muted to stealthy black. The resonator gleamed on a shelf, a small, humming quartz shard used in drive calibrations. Heart pounding, she pocketed it and fled back to the undergrowth. But fate intervened. As she handed the resonator to Alex, a rustle in the bushes announced intruders. Federation drones whirred overhead, scanning for anomalies. "Run!" Alex shouted, pushing Myra behind him. They fled deeper into the maze, roots twisting like serpents. Alex's human agility surprised Mira. He leaped over chasms with ease, his endurance unflagging. But the patrols closed in, their energy nets crackling. Cornered in a cavern, Alex activated his wrist device, projecting a holographic shield. "Stay back," he warned the approaching Zorathians. The lead guard, a burly figure named Captain Lyric, halted. His skin flared red aggression. "Identify yourself, intruder. I'm Alex Harper, human explorer. I mean no harm." The word human rippled through the group like a shockwave. Skins shifted to horrified violet. Weapons charged. Mira stepped forward, her small voice trembling. "Wait. He's my friend." Captain Lyric's eyes narrowed. "Child, step aside. This is a threat to the Federation." But before chaos erupted, a larger force arrived, Alara and Thorn, alerted by the commotion. Alara's skin drained to white shock upon seeing Alex. "Mira, what have you done?" The arrest was swift. Alex surrendered peacefully, his hands raised. Bound in energy cuffs, he was escorted to Lumina's central spire for interrogation. Mira was confined to her pod, her parents' skins a storm of colors, betrayal's dark blue, fear's yellow streaks. The news spread like wildfire across Zorathia and the Federation. A live human, captured after centuries. Delegates converged on Lumina, debates raging in the Grand Council chamber. Some called for immediate execution, citing the Void War's atrocities. Others, like Alara, advocated study. Perhaps humans had evolved, or this was a peaceful envoy. Mira, overhearing fragments through her pod's vents, felt despair. Her skin remained a dull gray. She had to save Alex. In the dead of night, she escaped her confinement using a trick Alex had taught her, a simple lockpick from twisted wire. Creeping through the shadows, she made her way to the detention level, where Alex was held in a force field cell. "Alex," she whispered. He looked up, his face bruised from questioning. "Mira, you shouldn't be here. I have to help you escape." Alex shook his head. "It's too dangerous. Besides, maybe this is a chance for peace. If I can talk to them." But their reunion was cut short. Alarms blared, security breached. Guards swarmed, but not Federation ones. These were masked figures, their skins artificially dulled, wielding disruptors. Smugglers, Alex realized. A rogue faction, opposed to Federation bureaucracy, sought to capture the human for their own gains, perhaps to sell as a curiosity or weaponize his knowledge. Chaos ensued. Blasts echoed. Force fields flickered. In the melee, Mira freed Alex, using the resonator's frequency to overload the cell. Together, they fled into the city, smugglers in pursuit. Lumina's branches became a battlefield, vines whipping, drones clashing. Alex proved resourceful, hacking a transport pod with his device. As they soared toward the undergrowth, Mira clung to him. "Why are they after you?" "Humans aren't extinct," Alex confessed. "We're in hiding. After the wars, we retreated to rebuild. I'm a scout, seeking alliance. But some fear us still." Reaching his ship, a sleek, camouflaged vessel hidden under fungal overgrowth, Alex initiated repairs with the resonator. But the smugglers arrived, led by a shadowy figure, Vexer, a disgraced Zorathian exile. "You'll fetch a fine price, human," Vexer sneered, skin black with malice. The confrontation was fierce. Alex fought with improvised weapons, his human strength surprising the attackers. Mira, using her knowledge of the terrain, triggered bioluminescent flares to blind them. In the climax, as Vexer cornered Alex, Mira shouted, "Stop. He's not the enemy." But Vexer laughed. "Foolish child. Humans destroyed worlds." Alex, wounded, activated his ship's defenses, a pulse that stunned the smugglers. Federation forces, tracking the disturbance, arrived moments later. Captain Lyric secured the scene, but tensions peaked as Alara and Thorn appeared. "Mira," Alara cried. The little girl stood defiant, pointing at Alex.
"Mom."
"That's the human." The words hung in the air, but it was the context that stunned everyone. As Alex removed his disguise projector, a device masking his true form, the revelation hit. He wasn't just any human. Holographic records from his ship projected. Alex was a descendant of Federation allies, humans who had fought against the rogue invaders during the Void Wars. The barbaric humans were a faction. Others had aided the Federation secretly, then withdrawn to avoid persecution. But the true shock, Myra's gesture was an accusation. "Mom, that's the human who saved us." Flashbacks unfolded via Alex's logs. Cycles ago, during a storm that threatened Lumina, an unseen figure had stabilized the Tree City's anchors. Alex in hiding. More. Genetic scans revealed Myra's anomaly. Alara, in her youth, had been rescued from a crashed shuttle by a human scout, Alex's father. A brief alliance, a hidden bond. Mira, intuitively sensing kinship, had befriended Alex not by chance. The council convened. Evidence poured in. Humans sought reintegration, offering technology for peace. Prejudices shattered. Zorathian skins bloomed with hopeful gold. Alex departed, but with promises of return. Mira, hailed as a bridge builder, grew into a diplomat. Years later, as ambassador, she reflected. One child's words had stunned a galaxy into unity. Ending part for your story, Mom. That's the human. The little alien girl's words stunned everyone. This continuation picks up right after the line where Mira says, "Mom, that's the human," and builds into a much longer, emotionally rich, and satisfying conclusion. It adds depth to the revelations, family dynamics, political consequences, personal growth, and a hopeful future, perfect for a 50-plus minute narration video. The Grand Council chamber of Lumina hung in stunned silence after Myra's small, trembling voice cut through the chaos like a crystal chime. "Mom, that's the human." Not an accusation, not fear. A quiet, certain statement of recognition. Alara Voss felt the color drain from her skin until it became almost translucent, the pale gray-white of someone who had just witnessed the impossible rewrite itself. Thorn stood frozen beside her, his steady green determination fracturing into jagged streaks of bewildered violet. Captain Lyric's weapon wavered. The smugglers groaned on the fungal floor, stunned by Alex's pulse wave. Federation drones hovered uncertainly, their scanning lights flickering like confused fireflies. Alex Harper lowered his hands slowly. Blood trickled from a gash above his eyebrow where Vex's disruptor had grazed him, but his blue eyes never left Mira. He knelt, carefully, painfully, so he was eye-level with the little Zorathian girl who had risked everything for him. "Mira," he said softly, "you don't have to do this." But she did. She stepped forward, placing her small, iridescent hand on his arm. Her skin bloomed with colors no one in the chamber had ever seen on a child so young. Steady lavender trust, threaded with brave crimson courage, and underneath it all, a warm, pulsing gold that spoke of something deeper than friendship. "He's not the monster from the stories," Mira said, turning to face the assembled Zorathians, Federation delegates, and her own stunned parents. "He's the one who fixed the anchor cables during the Great Tempest 3 cycles ago. When the storm almost tore Lumina apart, everyone thought the roots would snap. But someone climbed down in the dark and welded them back together. No one ever knew who. It was him." A low murmur rippled through the crowd. Many remembered that night, the howling winds, the city swaying like a ship in a hurricane, the prayers whispered to the ancestor trees. Alex exhaled slowly. I couldn't just watch. My father taught me, if you can help, you help. Even if no one ever knows. Captain Lyric's skin flickered uncertainly between silver duty and uncertain teal curiosity. You expect us to believe a human scout repaired our city in secret? I don't expect anything, Alex replied. I just did it. Mira wasn't finished. She turned to her mother. And Mom, when you were young, before you met Father, you were on the research shuttle that crashed in the Ashenvale Nebula. The engines failed. Everyone thought you were lost. But a human scout ship answered your distress beacon. They towed you to safety. They never asked for thanks. They never even told the Federation. They just left. Alera's multifaceted eyes widened. Memories long buried surged forward. The cold dark of a dying ship, the sudden flare of unfamiliar engines, a voice over the comm in broken galactic standard saying, Hold on, we've got you. She had always assumed it was a rogue salvage team. She had never known. Thorn reached for his partner's hand. Their fingers intertwined, colors bleeding together, shock, wonder, guilt. How do you know this, Mira? Alera whispered. Because Alex showed me the logs, the girl answered simply. His father was the pilot. His name was Benjamin Harper. He kept your picture in his cabin for years. He said you reminded him of his sister back on Earth. A holographic interface flickered to life from Alex's wrist device. With a tired gesture, he projected the archived recording. The image was grainy, old, but unmistakable. A much younger Alera, barely out of her third cycle, being helped from a damaged escape pod by a tall human in a worn flight suit. He had the same dark hair, the same quiet eyes as Alex. He smiled gently, said something the translator couldn't catch, then turned and walked away into the shadows of the rescue bay. Gasps echoed around the chamber. The truth settled over everyone like golden dusk light filtering through the canopy. Humans were not a single monster species. They never had been. The Void Wars had been fought against a brutal splinter faction, the Terran Dominion, who believed in conquest and domination. But there had always been another current within humanity, explorers, scientists, refugees, dreamers who rejected the Dominion's violence. When the Federation finally drove the Dominion fleets back into the void, the peaceful humans had chosen exile rather than face suspicion and revenge from every species they had once called neighbor. For 2 centuries they had hidden, rebuilt, watched from afar, waiting for a chance to prove they could belong again. Alex Harper was not an invader. He was an ambassador who had never been invited. The smugglers were dragged away. Vexer snarled curses until a stunned field silenced him. Captain Lyric lowered his weapon completely. The Grand Council Elder, a towering, ancient Zorathian whose skin had long faded to permanent silver, stepped forward. Human, he said, voice resonant, you will come before the full assembly, not as a prisoner, as a witness, and perhaps as the first bridge in centuries. Alex bowed his head. I accept. But before the guards could escort him, Mira ran to her parents. Alera dropped to her knees and pulled her daughter into an embrace so fierce that their colors merged into a single radiant glow, mother and child indistinguishable in emotion. I'm sorry, Mira whispered against her mother's shoulder. I lied. I hid him. I was scared you'd hate me. Alera stroked Myra's head spines gently. I could never hate you, little star. You saw what none of us could see. You reminded us what we claimed to believe, that understanding comes before judgment. Thor knelt too, wrapping both of them in his long arms. For the first time in many cycles, his skin showed no trace of Engineer's steady green, only the deep, vulnerable amber of love and relief. The days that followed were a whirlwind. Alex was given guest quarters in the highest spire of Lumina, not a cell. Federation linguists worked tirelessly to refine the translation matrices. Scientists, Alera among them, studied his ship's technology with reverence rather than suspicion. Engineers like Thorne spent long nights with Alex, marveling at human ingenuity, robust, practical, stubbornly durable designs born from a history of scarcity and survival. Delegates from dozens of worlds arrived. Some came in anger, carrying old wounds from the Void Wars. Others came in curiosity. A few came in hope. Public hearings were broadcast across the Federation networks. Alex spoke honestly about Earth's oceans and forests, about humanity's mistakes and redemption, about the children born in hidden colonies who had never known war, only stories of a galaxy that feared them. Mira became a quiet celebrity. Adults asked her questions. Children followed her through the branches hoping to hear the story firsthand. She answered simply, always the same way. He was kind. He was alone. And he needed a friend. One evening, as the dual suns dipped below the horizon and Lumina's bioluminescent veins began to glow, Alex found Mira sitting on a high platform overlooking the canopy sea. She was weaving a small bracelet from glowvine threads, purple, red, gold. The same colors she had shown him that first day. "For you," she said, holding it out. "So, you remember Zorathia when you go home." Alex accepted it carefully, slipping it onto his wrist beside the battered explorer's band his father had given him decades earlier. "I'll never forget," he promised. "And I'll be back." The council has already voted to open preliminary contact. A human delegation will arrive within the cycle. No more hiding. Myra's skin shimmered with hopeful turquoise. "Will you bring other humans? Children?" Alex smiled, the first real, unguarded smile she had seen since the arrest. "I'll bring as many as want to come. And maybe one day you'll visit Earth. See the oceans for yourself. Feel real rain." Mira tilted her head. "What does rain feel like?" "Like the sky is hugging you," he said. She laughed, a bright, musical sound that echoed through the branches. Years passed. The galaxy changed slowly, the way great forests grow. Trade routes opened. Human ships, sleek now, no longer crude war vessels, docked at Federation ports. Scientists exchanged knowledge. Artists shared songs. Children played together on neutral worlds, laughing in languages that blended like colors on a prism. Mira Voss grew tall and graceful. Her skin still danced with every emotion, but now it carried an extra depth, a quiet wisdom earned through courage most adults never needed to find. At 16 cycles, she stood before the Intergalactic Assembly as the youngest ambassador in recorded history. Behind her, on the viewing balcony, stood her parents, Alera's blue contentment now permanently flecked with proud silver, Thorne's green deepened by years of quiet pride. And beside them stood Alex Harper, older, gray beginning to touch his temples, but eyes still bright. He wore the simple diplomatic tunic of the United Terran Concord, the new name humanity had chosen for itself within the Federation. When Mira stepped to the podium, the chamber fell silent once more. She looked out at the sea of faces, tentacled, feathered, crystalline, scaled, furred, and yes, even human. Then she spoke the words that had once stunned a planet and now echoed across a galaxy. Many cycles ago, a frightened little girl looked at a stranger and saw not a monster, but a friend. She spoke 4 words that changed everything. Mira smiled, small and certain, the same smile she had worn that night in the undergrowth. "Mom, that's the human." The chamber erupted, not in shock this time, but in sustained, thunderous applause. Colors flared across thousands of skins in a symphony of unity. Humans in the audience wiped tears. Zorathians glowed brighter than the dual suns at noon. Afterward, as delegates mingled and old enemies became tentative friends, Mira found Alex near the balcony railing. "You kept your promise," she said. "You kept yours first," he replied. She touched the bracelet on his wrist, still there after all these years, threads faded but unbroken. "Ready to show me the range?" she asked. Alex laughed softly. "Whenever you're ready, Ambassador Voss." Together they looked out over Lumina, at the glowing city, at the endless canopy, at a galaxy no longer divided by fear. One child's courage, one moment of trust, one sentence spoken in innocence and truth, and the stars had never seemed so close.